Hello everyone! Welcome to my bold and the beautiful gossip channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Before we dive into today's content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and show some love by giving this video a thumbs up. This week, everybody responded to Steffi terminating trust. Somewhere else, Will and Electra kept on getting to know one another. Furthermore, Poppy visited Luna, who sent a letter to Bill. At Forrester, Steffi demanded to Edge and Taylor that she caution Trust about what might occur, assuming she screwed with her better half and her loved ones. Also, she needed to fire her. Taylor guaranteed Steffi she put down the stopping points. It was Trust who went too far. Be that as it may, Edge stressed over the blowback and how Brooke would take it. Edge repeated his help for Steffi, and she communicated Bliss that she was getting his full help. Steffi additionally asked her dad not to allow the Logans to control him. At Brooke's, Trust again let Carter know that Steffi had terminated her, and when Brooke went along with them, she recounted to them the entire story. Trust conceded she presented a justification for Steffi to fire her on a platter. At a certain point, Trust contemplated whether she even needed to get back to Forrester. Things had been so terrible there for such a long time that perhaps it was, as of now, not the most ideal spot for her. Brooke was paralyzed when Trust advised her that Edge never really halted Steffi. He advised her to go, as a matter of fact, and afterward Trust needed to do the stroll of disgrace before this multitude of representatives that she regarded. Brooke couldn't really accept that Edge didn't counsel her or anything. She was certain he won't let this stand. Trust, thusly, didn't believe that this should blow back on Carter. That is the reason she didn't blame everything on him. Steffi would transform that piece of data into something different through and through. In the interim, Carter said he cautioned Edge about Steffi losing her viewpoint, and he won't allow them to do this. After Will enlightened Katie concerning Trust terminating, Katie let Steffi and Taylor know that she understood what it resembled, yet additionally realized it was a misconception. Trust had cleared up everything for her. Taylor and Steffi brought up how Trust played with Thomas' feelings and kissed Finn at the party. She did what she did, and presently she was out. At Brooke and Edge's place, Brooke told Edge she knew it all and that she probably misjudged that he permitted Steffi to fire Trust. Sadly, Brooke vowed to keep Carter's name out of it, and presently she can't clear up this entire wreck. All Brooke could say was that Edge was thoroughly off base about this. Back at Forrester, Will and Electra ran into one another in the future. Electra let it be known that she would be working there since Forrester has a gems line once more. Will obviously appreciated hearing this, and he offered her assistance would it be advisable for her she and Ivy needed. The two continued to take a gander at one another lovably. In the interim, Trust and Carter discussed being outcasts at Forrester. Also, Carter could hardly imagine how his purported companion Edge could simply permit Steffi to fire Trust. He loathed that the Forresters viewed at the Logans as second-rate. Carter likewise detested that he wasn't there for her at the workplaces. However, he was there for her when it made a difference. At home, Steffi let Finn know that she had no real option except to end expectations run at Forrester for what she did. Finn got it. He said he'd constantly uphold his significant other. He was a little stunned that she disposed of expectation for the future. At the end of the day, he upheld anything that she did. When the expectation talk was finished, they had intercourse and partaken in this quality time they had together. Do you have any idea about who wasn't partaking in their time together? Brooke and Edge. Brooke considered Trust her inheritance just as much as Edge considered Steffi the eventual fate of Forrester. At the point when Brooke said she considered Trust and Steffi approaches, Edge promptly repudiated her of that thought. He considered how she might believe that. It wasn't close by anyone's standards. An outraged Brooke maintained that Edge should uphold her, pay attention to her, and honor her. She maintained that him should trust her, however he didn't. In the interim, conversing with Carter, Trust hyped her thought process was the most compelling motivation. Steffi disposed of her, that she was a Logan and her mother committed a definitive sin. She experienced passionate feelings for Edge Forrester. Carter told her precisely what her identity was and that she was at this point not the only one. She had him on her side. Furthermore, when Carter told Trust he adored her, she didn't answer in kind. From the get-go, she thought about how it was that he had been standing directly before her, and she didn't see it. Be that as it may, presently she saw him, and she even said she adored him as well. Then Trust and Carter took things to a higher level. Carter was on a mission. He expected to clear things up with Steffi and Edge, and he guaranteed Trust he'd do all that he could to land her position back. In the meantime, Brooke and Katie filled in Zinda de Londonets on everything, and from the manner in which he sounded, he identified with Logan's side of things. All things considered, he was the lead creator at HATF, and presently the line was dropped. At Forrester, Steffi and Edge let Eric know what had occurred with Trust. He was vexed. While he conceded that Steffi reserved each privilege to safeguard her marriage and her perspective, he likewise said that what she did was private. Electra strolled in on Will, Laney, and Tony. The young ladies weren't extremely good to her. Then left, Will and Electra talked, was a tease, and flirted with one another. Electra referenced how Laney and Tony didn't appear to like her. Clearly, he couldn't have cared less about what those young ladies needed to say. Trust in the end joined Brooke, Katie, and Zinda. She referenced how terrible she felt for Zinda. All things considered, as lead fashioner, he was adequately skilled to take HATF higher than ever. Notwithstanding, she said that Carter appeared not entirely set in stone to talk sense into Edge and Steffi and to inspire them to see that switching their choice was ideal for everybody. At the point when Carter showed up, he told Steffi they expected to see that HATF was an entryway to the more youthful clients and that pursuing individual choices in light of the entire Logan versus Forrester contention wasn't the best approach. Moreover, it was a failure to understand the situation as well as a pass in authority. He wouldn't permit that. Steffi looked dazed. At the Forrester workplaces, Steffi had enough of Carter's rebellion and his energetic safeguard of Trust and HATF. Thus, she left. Before long, Steffi and Zen got some exposure with Trust in the room. Zenny wanted to find out whether Steffi had thought anything about him when she went with the choice. All things considered, he was a Forrester as well. He was curious as to whether he was truly going to go anyplace in the organization. Once more, expectation and Steffi stood up to one another. Trust needed to know how it felt that she wasn't the only one wounded by her choice. Steffi betrayed Trust and said that she had set them here. In the meantime, Carter and Edge got into it at the workplaces. Edge communicated how wiped out he was of discussing Trust. Nonetheless, Carter kept on pushing his story, and afterward he multiplied down on Edge, not standing by listening to his extravagant image thoughts. He thought they were dearest companions, siblings. Edge left Carter also. While Katie chatted with Bill and referenced how he should be forlorn in that enormous house now that Poppy and Luna at this point not lived there, Poppy visited Luna in prison. Luna said she valued her mother coming. Poppy emptied her agony on the girl she could scarcely check out. Afterward, Luna got some information about Bill and needed to know how he was. Poppy let her girl in on that her kissing Bill essentially took care of business for herself and Bill. They are presently not together. What's more, when Poppy left, Luna grinned creepily. Furthermore, she kept that grin all over when she was back in jail. With respect to Bill, he detected a letter Luna sent him from prison. He opened it and read about Luna missing him and how he was the man she respected the most. He didn't keep the letter. All things considered, he consumed the letter and threw it in his chimney. Carter went from disturbed to enraged once he understood that Steffi's by-and-by-driven terminating of Trust would not have been upset because of him requesting an individual blessing from his dearest companion, Edge. In about half a month, Carter has gone from surrendering that expect what was to come was at this point not a resource to contending that the actual endurance of Forrester manifestations relies on keeping it. It's worth focusing on that the enormous circle back from his perspective matches with him leaving on an individual relationship with trust. Trust Carter B and B. Carter's position is eyebrow-raisingly tricky. Obviously, just the striking and lovely watchers understand this, as the Forresters have no clue about that a sentiment with trust is behind his unexpected turnaround in power. Also, in spite of the way that every individual who has at any point worked at the design house has continued love illicit relationships there, for some hazy explanation, Carter can't just make sense of that Steffi's presumption about trust was off base, and that she was really wearing underwear and ready to pounce for him. Not Finn. This obviously would clear everything up, and there's no showing that. That carries us to the present, where Edge left Carter's request to restore trust and her line, and to the current week's spoilers, which bother a retribution plot contrived by the COO to pay back the Forresters for removing the exquisite Logan. Anyway, how furious is Carter, and what difference does that make? All things considered, in a word, he's shocked, bowed, angered, irate, since he's certain that this is the Forresters continuing on the Logans in an unreasonable manner, and taking into account the Forresters have additionally dismissed his proposition to extend the organization, he's seeing outright red. The way that the Forresters have likewise terminated Forresters various times, and that they have sound purposes behind expressing no to this arrangement are obviously not going to go into this situation. The inquiry is Carter adequately irate to lead the organization or mess himself up? Since with the situations we're envisioning, he'd need to do either to get his payback. Forrester is a family-possessed organization and Carter has no power or influence there. He can't persuade investors that the presidents are in some unacceptable in light of the fact that there aren't any. That intends that to get his payback, he needs to hurt the organization somehow or another. Considering that he works for Forrester Manifestations, this point would be across purposes to his own prosperity, except if he intends to leave after he does anything that it is he will do. Anyway, how might he at any point treat the Forresters? Indeed, he can raise hell of the monetary or lawful assortment for the family. Regularly, nothing occurs without an explanation on cleansers, and the scholars made a special effort to have Edge notice a LLC that Carter should set up for them for bringing down how much charges they're paying. Should Carter neglect to enlist the LLC as he was told, the Forresters could wind up hit with a devastating expense bill. Steffi hands up shock. Then again, as a legal advisor, he could prompt expectation in the background with respect to how to scam the Forresters legitimately over the terminating by discovering some escape clause. Obviously, this game plan would expect him to keep quiet, and that is never going to occur, striking and lovely. As we reference, in the event that Carter purposely screws the organization about, he must have his sack stuffed, prepared to say, "Gotcha," on out the entryway. This applies to anything he decides to do to Forrester Manifestations that harms the business in any capacity. Harming the organization or its standing possibly appears to be doable in the event that Expectation and Carter choose to cut attaches with Forrester Manifestations, as opposed to push to work there. How could you need to undermine a business where you're wanting to remain on? Text peruses, buy into Cleanser's intense and lovely bulletin. Get making it known cautions, everyday recaps, selective meetings, and spoilers sent directly to your inbox //cloud email.soaps.com/information exchange/. The main concern, Carter presumably has the means and chance to push Forrester Manifestations to the brink of collapse in the event that he needs to. However, he must be ready to leave, maybe to begin another business with trust. Perhaps his arrangement includes beginning an impressive new design house while Forrester is tottered and making use advantage. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates.